This episode is brought to you by the CNY Women's Network, a media and PR company connecting and celebrating women professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders across Central New York. From networking experiences and wellness pop-ups to our annual CNY Women's Summit, which is the largest event for women leaders in this region, we're building a community where women feel seen, supported, and inspired to grow. We're currently partnering with sponsors for our 2026 event season, including the CNY Women's Summit, our walking club, co-working meetups, fitness pop-ups, editorial campaigns, you name it. If your brand is passionate about empowering women and making meaningful community connections, we'd love to collaborate. You can start the conversation and learn more by heading to cnywomensnetwork.com/opportunities. That's cnywomensnetwork.com/opportunities. Now let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to Cultivate CNY. I'm your host, Alex Canavan, and today we are joined by the incredible Amy Robbins. Amy is the morning show co-host and executive producer of the Ted and Amy Morning Show on 93Q in Syracuse, and she's a voice that's been waking up Central New York for nearly 4 decades. She's a Camden native and Ithaca College graduate. Amy has turned the airwaves into a platform for connection, compassion, and community impact. Her dedication to the community has earned her recognition from organizations like the Salvation Army, the Susan G. Komen Foundation, the Arc of Onondaga, and the CNY Girl Scout Council. And in 2019, she and Ted were included into the New York State Broadcasters Hall of Fame. What makes Amy's story so remarkable is her staying power and her heart. 37 years alongside co-host Ted Long, official voice of the New York State Fair, emcee of Syracuse's St. Patrick's Day Parade, host of the beloved Amy's Slumber Party, and she's still rolling up her sleeves to make CNY a better place. Amy leads with authenticity, humor, and an unwavering commitment to lifting others up. Today, we'll dive into how a small-town girl became one of Syracuse's most trusted voices, the causes closest to her heart, and what she learned about building community through the power of local media. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Amy Robbins, welcome to Cultivate CNY.
Thank you, Alex. Nice to be here. I love this setup. I feel like I'm, on The Real Housewives or something with these podcasts. I'm very excited. Everybody's doing a podcast.
Yeah, everyone's doing a podcast now, right? Nice little Bravo action.
See,
over
there
here.
you go.
Hopefully it's not as dramatic
I'm
or
hoping.
chaotic.
We'll laugh, we'll cry. There's a lot happening. I was just saying, though, that I know you do this year round, and I'm thinking that those in the summer must be much more attractive when they get here because I'm like a 7-degree weather forecast. I got my hat on, so I apologize. I know you're only having me for my sparkly personality, but I apologize.
Oh my gosh.
I'm pale.
Don't apologize. You know what? I love the sweater you're wearing.
Oh, thank you.
Where did
Thanks
you get
very
this sweater?
much. It was probably a Marshall's find. I'm a bargain girl from way back, so
We love
I think
that.
I got her a Marshall's. Thank you.
Nothing like a Marshall's trip, honestly.
I tell you, if I need some sprucing up, I just head to Marshall's, especially the clearance rack.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it, my friend. Proud
Yeah.
of it.
That's amazing. Well, you know what? Amy Robbins, this is an iconic moment. I feel like I'm so excited for today's episode because I just feel like everyone has listened to you talk about what's going on in the community and talk about all of the amazing things like Central New York for so many years. But today we're going to talk about you.
Oh, okay.
How do you feel about that?
You said I'm finally going to ask some questions about you. I do talk about myself a lot during the show, but I wrote back and said that's a lot of Amy Robbins. I'm not sure, but I'm an open book, so whatever you'd like to know. But our show really is, very personal. I do focus a lot on community issues and things like that. But Ted and I have grown up, truthfully, literally, grown old, grown up, one of those on the air. So I think our listeners sometimes know more than I remember about myself.
Yeah, and I think you and Ted having worked together for so long is such an awesome thing. Definitely want to get into like your friendship there and just what it's like working with someone for so many years, the way you guys work together. What's your favorite part about what you do?
I've been on the air for so long that you meet families that have grown up with us that have listened for literally like generations. And I think that's what I love the most about it. I mean, I was young when I started, and you knew kids then that are now adults that have kids of their own. And at first, you're kind of thinking, holy cow, that's kind of amazing that you're still in the same community for that long. But I absolutely love that. I mean, what more could you ask for that these families have grown up with us and then continue to keep carrying on that tradition with their kids? So I think that's probably what I like the most about my job.
And did you always know you were going to be a radio personality just growing up as a little girl?
Well, I thought I was going to get into communications. This is a funny story, and actually she knows that this is the reason why I got into this. When I was in the Girl Scouts in 7th grade, I went on a trip to Channel 3, and a very young and talented and beautiful Laura Hand was one of the reporters. And I thought that that was the coolest thing, is to get into some sort of communication. And so I knew right then that I was going to do something. So I got a degree in broadcast journalism at Ithaca College and really was focusing on news more than anything. Although when I first got down to Ithaca, they had a college TV station and college radio stations, and I just was more drawn to the radio stations. So I always focused on radio as compared to television down there. And then when I got out of college, I was looking for a news job, and I did that for a year. And then I got hired at 93Q and still do the news, but we're more lifestyle, more
Mhm.
interviewing people. I found truthfully that I didn't have the personality like the assertive personality to do news, because when you do news reporting, you're talking to a lot of people that don't want to talk to you. You're chasing down criminals and like their lawyers and all that kind of stuff. And I just, how do you feel about your house burning up? And I was just like, I was just not into that. And I knew
Yeah.
right after getting a 4-year degree that that probably was not the road that I wanted to go down. So I felt like this was a better fit. And obviously, 37 years later, it definitely is.
I mean, it definitely sounds like a fun job. What is a morning in the life of Amy Robbins? I would love to hear it. When do you wake up? Tell us the
Yeah.
routine.
Alex, I've been getting up probably around 3:15 for 37 years. And you tell people that, and it is kind of unbelievable. And you never get used to it because people say, well, you've been doing it for so long, you must just automatically get up. Oh, hell no. I mean, on a Saturday, I sleep until 7:30. Like, it's just your body never gets used to getting
Yeah.
up really early. Um, I do enjoy not having to worry about other vehicles in my commute and things like that because there's nobody on the roads. And I get out usually about 12 or 12:30. So when I get there, I, get all my news ready. I use a lot of news audio. So if I don't have that edited, I get that all ready. Figure out what we're going to do. We have a lot of benchmarks, we call them. So on a Tuesday, we do something specific, one break. On a Wednesday, we might have something specific. So I make sure those are all ready to go. And we kind of figure out topics, although we don't ever have a script of our show. We never say, all right, I'm going to say this, and then you're going to say this, and then we're going to talk about this. It's more we get topics, or, this is what we're going to focus on today. So I get all done. We go on the air at 5:30. We're on until 10. It's really busy. People think that we just kind of hang around during the music playing, and that's not the case because you're kind of focusing on the next break. And then I get everything done. I do interviews and answer emails, edit stuff for the next day, and I usually get done probably around 12 or 12:30. We do a lot of stuff emceeing, so I do things after that either in the afternoon or at night. And we do a lot of broadcasts. You meet people that want to get into the communications field that are like, I don't work weekends. And 37 years later, I still work a lot of weekends. Radio's 24/7. So that's not really part of a choice that you make if you get into this career. But obviously, I love it. And I complain about getting up early, but I love it once I get to the show and you snap your fingers and another week is done. So I feel like that's a really good sign that I'm doing what I should be doing. When you love it so much, it goes by so fast.
What have you learned about yourself over the years? Just being this personality and kind of being really like a figure in the community, but also being your own person and being a woman. What is the difference between like on air Amy and behind the scenes Amy?
I think part of the magic is our show is that Ted and I are both very genuine. I feel like I'm very much the same person on the air and off the air. And I know that that's very different for a lot of people. I think they have an on air persona that works for them. I am exactly the same way. And I make a lot of mistakes. I don't always know what I'm doing when it comes to any sort of subject. I go through the same kind of trials and tribulations as everybody who listens. And I think both of us have been very genuine about that. So, I don't know if you would learn anything different. I guess as a friend of mine, maybe you would find out some different things about me, but I'm pretty much the same person on and off the air. Don't like making laughs. Like I really don't like, this was a lot for me to park downtown. Don't parallel park. I'm very, the whole odd even parking, I
Your
still haven't
listeners
figured
already
out.
know.
They
know it
already know.
all.
They're already like, yeah, so she had to make all rights getting there, so, so I'm quirky, but I feel like I really am the same person on and off the air. And Ted is the same way. Both of us, I think you meet us and people say, you guys are exactly the same. And our
Yeah.
relationship is the same too. I mean, we're really good friends. We hang out off air and on air. So it is, I don't think it's any kind of secret. I think it's just the fact that we try to be the same people that we are, and we are very genuine.
Have you ever felt like there was a part of you that maybe wanted to hide certain parts of yourself or keep things a little bit more private? Just curious, because I feel like me right now, I feel like there's a lot of things going on, and I'm in this place with this voice, and everyone wants a solo episode, but I don't know what to talk about because I don't know how personal should I get, and what do I want to share and what don't I want to share. Has that ever been a hesitation for you, or anything that you've ever had to work through like that?
I mean, being on the air 4.5 hours a day, you talk a lot about your life. And throughout the years, I've learned certain subjects, not so much for me, but maybe for family members and things like that. For my husband, I mean, I'm married to someone who really lets me talk about pretty much anything, but there are some things that he's uncomfortable with. And I totally abide by that.
Mhm.
He's very open with many, many subjects. My family members overall are pretty good, but you find out down the road that some of them are uncomfortable being talked about. And so I have learned, sometimes the hard way. I always try to be honest, and I feel like, and try not to embarrass anybody or put them in a bad position if I'm talking about them. And I'm not saying that I succeed all the time, but I think, that's been part of it. I think too that that's the reason why people listen is because sometimes you do have things going on in your life that are not all roses, and that's why they relate to it. And so you do try to be as honest as possible, but
Mhm.
you have to kind of learn. And again, there would be spouses, I think, that would not be as comfortable with me talking about everything. And thankfully I married the right one because
Right?
he's fine with that. Yeah.
Yes. What a king. We love that. How did you and Ted meet? I don't know the story, so
Oh,
I would love to hear it. I'm sure there's people listening that already know it, but
oh, well, okay. So
let's
we'll go
it's
back.
been
There was
37 years, right?
Yes, it was 37 years in November. I actually, right when I got out of Ithaca, you put your resume in all over the place. And I put my resume in at 93Q. They had a morning show that was called Laird and Long in the morning. So Ted was working with another gentleman, and they didn't really have anybody doing news then. And they didn't have a desire to hire anybody to do news. So I worked for a year over at WEZG, which was an easy listening station. And I started out doing afternoon news, and then the morning person left, and I took over. And then a year later, the person that I had spoken to and sent a resume to called and said, we're looking for a young person to do the news in the morning. We'd love a female. And I was like, oh, I'm really happy. And, I'm a broadcast journalist and all this stuff. But okay, well, I'll go over and talk to you. And it turned out to be the best decision. So I went in just to do news in the morning. And I remember I don't know, I mean, you haven't worked, I don't think, have you worked in television or radio
No.
okay, so usually if you're just doing a newscast, you interrupt the show, you come in, you sit down, you do a newscast, and then you leave the room and prepare for the next newscast. So the first day, that's what I did. I did the news, and I was like, I'm Amy Robbins for 93Q News. And I got up to leave, and the guys were like, well, why don't you stick around? And I said, okay. So I just started being part of the show. Ted and I literally had the best chemistry right at the beginning. I mean, we knew right away because a morning show is tough. If you are not feeling it regarding conversations or just chemistry, it's not going to work. You're not, if you don't relate to each other. And I actually related to both of them. They were great, and I learned a lot. And the other gentleman ended up being moved to a different shift, and then he left. And so it's been Ted and me ever since. So that's how we met. People think that we knew each other before that, but I just met him on the first day at 93Q, the #1 hit music station. So that was the first day. But yeah, we're very good friends. We hang out, on the air and off. And my husband and he are very good friends.
Mm-hmm.
He lost his wife 3 years ago, so we used to hang out as couples. But that's a whole other story, which I'm sure you're going to ask me about. But so that was, something that we've tried to work through, because it's as seeing someone 4.5 hours a day when you go through something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that brings you back to, the audience. They all lived through that with us. And I think that made us all kind of closer.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh. What do you love about Ted? I mean, like, why is the dynamic so good there? I mean, I've heard you guys, obviously it is, but you said right off the bat, was
Yeah.
it just, do you think that he's like able to banter with you, or just kind of like the same level of humor, probably?
Yeah, he's the funny one, though. I will always admit that. And he still makes me laugh, which I think is a really good sign. You read things about morning shows or teams, I guess it doesn't have to be on a radio, but who works. And you have to play different roles. I'm definitely the creator. Like I set him up for different stories that we do, different guests that we have, different things we talk about. He's the reactor. So I'm the creator and he's the reactor, because, he actually works better if I don't tell him what we're going to be talking about, because he's just really quick. So that kind of balances each other. If both of us were reactors, we'd both be trying to prove that each other or that we were funnier than the other one, right? And if we're both creators, that wouldn't work either, because one of us would say, no, we shouldn't do this. I want to do this. And so I think you need that balance. You need somebody to each play a different role. And he's very funny. I love him dearly. He drives me nuts. I sometimes just can't even take him anymore. And, but he probably says the same thing about me,
It's been 37 years. I'm sure it's been said once.
Let's see, we've gone through a couple wives with him, relationships with me. Yeah, it's lasted through everything. So, but I love his personality. He's a really good guy, and he's very kind and love his kids. It's been a good balance.
Today's episode is proudly supported by Empower Federal Credit Union, a member-owned, not-for-profit financial institution that's been putting people and community first for decades. At Empower FCU, banking is personal. They're committed to making financial services more accessible and affordable while reinvesting directly into the Central New York community through volunteer efforts, donations, and partnerships with local organizations that offer food security, accessible healthcare, safe housing, and youth development. Empower FCU is committed to creating a more secure future by supporting jobs, infrastructure, and access to home ownership. Through everyday banking, flexible lending, and trusted financial guidance, we help members reach their goals with confidence. To learn more about how Empower Federal Credit Union is making an impact, visit empowerfcu.com. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Camden Advisory Group, a trusted partner for entrepreneurs and small business owners across the country. At Camden Advisory Group, their mission is simple: to make managing your finances easier so you can focus on what really matters, growing your business. From bookkeeping and payroll to strategic consulting, their experienced team works across industries like healthcare, technology, finance, and manufacturing to provide personalized, detail-oriented support. Whether you're a startup or an established company, Camden Advisory Group helps you streamline operations, stay compliant, and move forward with confidence. To learn more, you can visit CamdenAdvisoryGroup.com. So when you go to like Wegmans, are you constantly getting stopped? Like, oh my God, Amy Robbins, are you Amy Robbins? Like, is that a thing that happens for you? Because everybody knows Amy.
Yeah, I think, I've been around for a long time. Yes, here's the deal. I think a lot of people recognize me. I would rather have somebody say, "Hey, you're Amy, right?" Or "Hi, Amy." It's the people that just kind of give you the look. In fact, I think half the guys in Cicero think I'm trying to pick them up because they give you the look, and then you don't want to be like, "Yes, I'm Amy." Maybe that's what you're like. What do you say? So I'm
What do
always
you
like, "Hey,
say?
how are you?" And they're thinking they're probably not even wondering who I am, but they look at you and you're kind of like, you don't want to be mean or be the only time that they meet you, you're not friendly.
Hmm.
So it's a fine line, Alex. It's a fine line.
It's a slippery
So a
slope.
slippery slope. So and sometimes if people are like, "Hey, you're Amy," then yes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But then some people just stare. And you're
some
just
people
like,
stare.
and it's easy when people stare. I've done it. When people stare at you, to feel defensive. Do you know what I mean?
And you
Like
just
even though it's not even anything, bad, but yeah, it's probably easy to feel that way. Or
well, and
just
as we just started the conversation, is the clearance section of Marshalls. They're probably like, "Really, Amy, you're shopping the." So let your freak flag fly. I
Hey, if
mean,
anyone's judging you for shopping the clearance at Marshalls, they can get lost, okay? It's 2026. It's
but overall, and as I mentioned, sometimes I think our listeners know me better than I do because they'll bring up a conversation or something that you talk a lot, and "Oh, well, how was this?" or "How was this product that you used?" and all this
They
stuff, and
just
you're
wanna
thinking,
hear your voice.
maybe
Maybe they're, like, obsessed with your voice. I don't
that
know.
amazes me more when they recognize my voice. I
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
why.
I feel like I mean, of course. Why wouldn't they? They've
I
listened to it for so long. You've got obviously a very distinct voice too.
Oh, geez. Well, thanks. I mean, when people recognize me, I kind of feel like, yes, I've been around for a long time, but my voice, it always intrigues me when people are like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I recognize that." So
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
nice.
So, is there a certain responsibility you think that comes with being a trusted voice in this world and media and broadcast? Like, do you ever feel like you have a greater responsibility than other people to kind of use your voice?
Oh, definitely. In fact, you sent along maybe some questions that you were going to ask, and you were asking if it was ever a feeling of being Amy was heavy. It was a heavy responsibility, and that's a really interesting question because I think there's a couple of different reasons why that feels heavy. When we've had, very big tragedies, like, I mean, I was on with 9/11, obviously the pandemic, things that happen, you have to be comforting. You have to be a voice that people recognize and is comforting. And yet just have to make sure your information is correct and you're saying the right things. And you can't be that opinionated with things like that. So that's a heavy feeling. It's also heavy because I do a lot of endorsements and things like that, or even talking about different businesses. And you can make or break a business, like a small business, by
Yeah.
not doing what they thought you should be doing, or that's a big responsibility because a lot of people put their trust in the fact that your radio station is going to help them and make them bigger and make them
Yeah.
more successful. And I take that on as a serious responsibility that I'm going to do the best I possibly can. Saying that, I do endorsements, but I only choose the endorsements that I feel really strongly about because I don't want to lead one of our listeners down a path just because they're willing to pay us to do an endorsement. So I'm very, very picky about endorsements. And also, I am a people pleaser. So I can read 300 comments of people that love our show, and I can read one of somebody that doesn't. And that just grates on me so badly. You just feel like, oh, you disappointed that one person who could just be out, just trying to raise a stink about anything they possibly could. And I let that affect me too much too. So yeah, there are some times when it's a responsibility that maybe people are not aware of
Mhm.
just by being a radio
Yeah.
co-host.
It's probably just this like constant pressure that you're under. But like you said, you love the fast pace, you like the high energy. It's kind of like what you sign up for, right? When you pursue a career like this. And, I think that especially when you're doing endorsements and stuff like that, if it's just kind of a risk, it always feels like you're taking a risk, right? Um, has there been a moment in your career where you felt like you had made a mistake and you had to kind of show how human you were in a way and take ownership. Has there ever been anything like that where, what did you learn about business and just life?
This doesn't have to do with the business, but this recently happened within the last year, and I hope I don't get emotional because I felt so badly about it. Welcome to 2026, and I said the next time I do something in a class or something like that with communications, I will talk about this. We have live contests that we do every day, and we take phone calls and people answer a question. It's a trivia question, so
Hmm.
you get multiple choice questions. And there are some times when we do a live contest that people are just trying to screw with us. I mean,
Yeah,
thankfully,
I'm
knock on
sure.
wood, we don't, sure. But there's people that try to do that. And we are very, very lucky that our listeners are usually very well behaved. So, we asked the person's name, and this person had a very low voice for their name. And at first, you're kind of thinking, all right, well, it's probably somebody that's just trying to screw with us. And neither Ted nor I handled it well. We're like, okay, all right, so that's your name or whatever. And go back a couple of minutes after that, and I get their personal information because they won the contest, and it's a transgender woman. And she said to me, it really is. Every time I talk about this, it makes me really emotional. But okay, she said to me, I haven't had a chance to get my voice changed yet. And I was feeling like I handled that as someone who was just out of school. Like I have been doing this for 37 years, and I made this person feel really bad about themselves. And I didn't want them to feel like they could never call anybody or play a contest again because they haven't had a chance to get their voice changed. I mean, that's a rookie mistake. And I could not stop thinking about it. And so I had her personal information. So after I got off the show, I contacted her, and I just said exactly that. I'm like, I feel like an idiot and I am so sorry. And you do not have to apologize at all. It's me. And I just felt like such an idiot. And it turns out she got right back, and she was like, it's okay. I deal with that a lot. And I was like, well, that's not really a reason. Since then, she's come out to a bunch of events, and I've gotten to know her. And it really kind of changed me regarding the fact that I'm never too old to learn something different. And so I think that was my last. I've had a lot of learning moments, but that was my last learning moment because you can't just jump to a conclusion. And how awful would I have felt if I left that conversation the way that it was? And
Oh,
so I
yeah.
had to admit that I was human, and I was so sorry, and it was such a mistake. And this is just not something that I should do in 2026,
I
and it's not
mean,
going to happen again.
of course. And the only thing you can do at that point, right, is to just take ownership and, deal with it head on, apologize. I mean, I think what that story really says is that you're never too experienced to not make a mistake and to be humbled and to realize just how human you are. I mean, your reaction was also valid because you guys are used to being
Pranked, right?
antagonized by
Yeah.
random strangers. I mean,
Yeah.
it's part of the gig, and you
Right.
become conditioned to be on the defense with certain things. And also another thing this story, I think symbolizes is like just the power of forgiveness too. Because I mean, imagine if she hadn't forgiven you. And, for someone who's a people pleaser, like you just said, like that would wreak havoc on your peace. And I know it. You wouldn't be able to let it go. And I
No.
understand. I understand. And this is the responsibility and the risk that I was just talking about too, is like the risk is putting yourself out there so much that you are willing to make mistakes in front of everybody and risk that. Because of course, in your position, if you were to truly say the wrong thing, I mean, you would lose
Right.
everything.
Right.
You can say the wrong thing and lose everything. And I think a lot of people don't take their word as serious as they should. I nowadays with social media, we have plenty of people that hide behind anonymous accounts and say awful things
Hmm.
out of the mission to hurt people, right? And you made a mistake, and you would never want to hurt someone in the way
No.
that you felt like you did.
Well, and
Um,
since then, I mean, she calls for contests, and we're
yeah.
like,
And you guys are homies now.
yeah, but that's it. And you're right. I think you said two different things that really hit home. Being humbled, that yes, that I am never too experienced to make mistakes, and the power of forgiveness, because she could have gone another way, and we all learned a really good lesson here. So
Yeah.
it's yeah. So yeah, now she's a 93Q groupie.
Yeah. Well, I was really looking forward to this episode because I felt like, in a way, I mean, there's so many random questions I have for you that I feel like some people might not, but because of what I'm doing now and what I do, I'm like, oh, I have to ask her this. And but I also feel like it's just a great opportunity for me to get some mentorship here. And if there's anything I've learned from doing this show and just putting myself out there so much in the community and just on social media with CNY Women's Network, I do feel like there is this fear of doing the wrong thing, saying the wrong thing, especially when you are so reliant on people consuming your content, and therefore they must have to like you, right? But truly, I don't think I would be doing what I'm doing if I wasn't naturally and always a people person. I've always loved people, and I have a big heart and a lot of love to give. And I think that that's why you do what you do too, is you have like what you do, the way you're able to show up on air and improvise and perform for people and entertain people, make people feel good and comfortable. I mean, that's your gift, right? And, your career journey has just been a true representation of, if you just follow your gifts and your passions, then I don't know.
You might end up in the right spot.
Yeah, everything
Yeah,
might
it's
just
true.
work out for you,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's really a beautiful story. But so that being said, and we talked a little bit about this before we started recording, but I have to know, how do you take care of your voice? Is there like a night routine that you do, or like certain products or things that you take to just like take care of your throat and your voice?
I think you stay hydrated. I mean, that's my main thing. I try to drink a lot of water. As you notice, I have cough drops handy no matter where I go. But it's true. You can really, like, I talk for, 4.5 hours a day. And then when I get off the air, recording commercials and things like that. So my husband knows when I get home, it's like, yeah, I'm not having a conversation. I'm so bad on the phone. Like, no one gets phone calls from me. Thank goodness for texts, because I think I do it for a living and I just don't want to be on the phone anymore, doing voice work, whatever you call it. But yes, I do just try to to drink a lot of water, vitamin C. I mean, I just try to stay healthy,
Yeah.
because you get sick. I normally get laryngitis once a year, and that's normally like a sinus infection or something. And then it's so hard to just
Yeah.
rest your voice. So I don't know how musicians do it. How do they sound the same when they're 80? You know what I mean? I don't understand. It's got to be some secrets that I should start adapting. But
Yeah. And you know what? Now you've got my wheels turning, because I mean, can feel it definitely after a day of podcasting, but sometimes it's like a day full of meetings and I'm the one running all the meetings.
a lot
And
of talking.
it's, by the end of the day, I can literally feel my throat hurting. Like,
Yeah.
not sore throat kind of vibes, like not sick, but just like there's a fatigue, there's
Yeah.
an ache. And I'm like,
Hoarseness.
oh boy, what are we going to do here? So I guess I'm going to have to start carrying around cough drops. That's a good idea. I've been doing more tea, just like
Hmm.
warm liquids as much as possible. But yeah, that's my random question for you.
Yeah. Stay healthy. That's the main thing. Because boy, when I lose my voice, it takes me a long time. I remember I have a big event, Amy's Slumber Party, which is coming up, which the 23rd year. So I've been doing this a long time.
23
And
years.
I lost my voice the week before the slumber party, and I got it back that night, like right before I had to greet everybody and all that stuff. And then I lost it again for like 2 weeks because I just pushed it, So
Mm,
don't push it. Like,
yeah.
keep it healthy so that you don't have to push it, because you certainly don't want to ruin it, or just make it harder to recuperate, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about Amy's Slumber Party. It's slumber party season. It's also summit season.
You're
So
right. All about empowering women.
heads down, planning this event, getting ready. What's going on? What are you guys up to this year? Anything fun you'd like to share?
We've tried to do some returning favorites, but 800 women in a hotel doing anything that they want to do for one night, whether it be dancing, well, not anything, but it is all women, by the way. We're all women wearing nightshirts, so we're not really out to impress anybody, but dancing, getting pampered, there's, shopping, all that kind of stuff. And I realize that a lot of women just are working really hard and they have families and they have jobs, and they're like the least amount of effort that they put toward focusing on anything is their well-being and getting out and enjoying time with other ladies.
Absolutely.
So you put them in a hotel, and I gotta say, Alex, I don't need to do a lot for them to have fun because everybody has a different idea of what fun is. Everybody stays over, so they all get a room with their roomies. There's 2, 3, or 4 ladies, and a lot of them spend time in the room, just like hanging out with their friends. Some of them really want to get their shopping on, or there's many that get a tattoo, which scares me. I think there's a lot of husbands in central New York that blame me for their wife coming back for a tattoo or a piercing. I don't force them. I haven't gotten one in 23 years or 22, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. And, I know you're all about empowering and making sure that women feel good about themselves. And there's something to be said about going somewhere and not having to worry about anything until the next morning and just hanging with your besties or your sisters or your coworkers, your daughters, your mothers. I mean, we have a lot of different generational families that come, which is cool.
Yeah.
So that's it. We're doing something because the magic of Amy's Slumber Party is the fact that there's women from 21 to like 101. We're doing a Dancing Through the Decades for the first time this year, where we're focusing on different decades of music every hour. So 80s,
Fun.
90s, early 2000s, 2010s.
Yes.
Then the current, and that's something
That'll
different
be
that we're
fun.
doing. So that's really nice to kind of focus on different generations that are coming and different. I mean, I was an 80s girl, let's admit it. I know you weren't born in the 80s,
I
but
was raised on 80s music, so
oh,
don't
okay.
you worry.
You
My
got
mom
some
raised
cool
me
parents.
right. She sure did. And I remember getting driven to school every day and listening to your voice. Little
See?
Alex would be jumping with joy
Aw,
right now,
thanks.
Amy. I'm not kidding. So, I mean, I've also grown up hearing about this iconic Amy Slumber Party. Like, this is it. This is like the mecca of like women's empowerment events in central New York. So tell me about the first slumber party. Where did this idea come from? How did the first event go? How did you know it was going to be an annual event? Like,
I got this idea. There was a radio station in Salt Lake City, Utah that was just I read like one sentence on it. And so my promotions director, Janice, who is still working with me, I went to her and I said, "What do you think? Do you think we can get a hotel that's interested in it?" So we went to a couple of different hotels, and everybody was kind of not thinking it was going to work, is having a whole hotel of women spend the night. So we decided to start small once we finally got the hotel, which we're still at today. Now it's the DoubleTree. It's had a couple different names, but the DoubleTree just off Carrier Circle. And they gave us enough room for 300 ladies. So we did like a soft promotion right after Christmas. I was on vacation until the beginning of January, and it sold out in that week. I mean, we just had a commercial playing and it sold out, and we were like, holy cow. So everybody had a great time, 300 ladies. It then went to 600, then it went to 800, then it went to 800 for 2 nights. After the pandemic, the DoubleTree really doesn't have the staff to do 800 for 2 nights. So we're down to 1. Now I'm 23 years older. So 1 night is probably good for me.
Yeah.
So we have about 800 women coming at the end of February. And, you mentioned listening when you were little. It is very cool for these ladies who have been coming for 23 years, and now their daughter's 21. And so now they can bring their daughters. The first year that my nieces could come, they came with me, and because they've been growing up with it.
Mhm.
And it's pretty amazing. So you do literally have like daughters and mothers and their mothers. And that's really cool too, because they're all going to be dancing through the decades, I guess, right?
They're going to be dancing on tables. They're going to be dancing in questionable places. I can't. No, I'm going to have to put that in my calendar and make sure I come out because, you know, still never been to it.
Oh, I'll give you a tour.
I would love the Grand Tour by the Amy Robbins, but also I would love to just take it all in, just experience it. I mean, I have this vision of it, and I'm just excited to actually see what it's like.
It's kind of
So
funny. People sometimes think it's so scandalous, and they're like, "Oh," and there really is not. I
I'm
mean,
not saying that. I don't think it's scandalous.
oh
I'm just
God.
like,
I
I
think
mean,
it's the men. They're like, "Do you have pillow fights?" Number one, women don't have pillow. Like, I'm not sure how they got that. But no, like,
yeah.
no. Don't you all have pillow fights? When have you seen a
It's
woman
like
have
you're
a pillow
watching
fight?
too many movies. It's like relax. Um,
But they do have fun. These ladies get cut loose, especially if they haven't been out since 1983. They cut loose. They get a little
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. And
So,
back to what you said, hosting an event like this makes you realize things about women. And one of those things is definitely that there's not enough women that are prioritizing themselves. And it's been this way for a very long time. And I'm so glad that there are community events that are bringing people, getting them out of their house, getting them to spend the night away from the husband and the kids and get together with their girlfriends and really just relax. I think that's so important to do in general, but it's important to remind people that you are worth investing in
yeah.
as well. But
Well, health, I mean, you always hear all of these statistics that ladies just put their health and their
yeah,
their
yeah.
their socializing and their happiness or whatever on the
I
back
come from a
burner.
long line of women that never put themselves first. I'll tell you that, Amy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm really, really grateful for the amount of things I get to do for myself now. And I love it. So you have 800 women that are attending this event. How many different vendors do you guys get involved for this? Like what's going on there? Tell us a little bit more about the experience, or if there's any brand partners that you guys have worked with for many years or will be working with this year.
Well, we have some of the returning brand partners. We also have some new ones. We have a lot of retail.
Hmm.
We try to keep the booths affordable so that small businesses can come in, a lot of local
Yeah.
businesses that are selling everything from jewelry to socks to everything in between. We have a lot of services because the ladies may not have been able to get their eyebrows waxed because they don't have time to do that, or,
Hmm.
tinsel in their hair or different stuff. Did I mention tattoos? Not my fault. But the
Flash
ladies, for
tattoos.
some reason, they like to get their tattoos. We
Yes.
have psychic readings. We have, a lot of nonprofit organizations that come, whether it's, Krause Health that is looking to give out information and recruit, but also regarding like their women's health programs and things like that. Nescentia Health has been a big sponsorship for a couple of years. They've been great with just getting the word out, really with recruitment, because a lot of the people that work for them are ladies. So yeah, everything in between. It's a really fun spot to be in. And as I mentioned, some of the women don't want to shop, and some of them, that's all they want to do. They go to every single booth and, buy up a storm. But some of them just want to stay in the hallway or grand ballroom and dance. So I guess it just kind of depends what you're into. It's a
Yeah.
really fun vibe. The first year, my
Build
husband
your
was
own
like, okay,
experience.
there's 800 ladies, or I guess the first year was 300. You're going to cry during the night. Just be ready. And you really don't, because everybody's like so happy to get away. Like they're just
Yeah.
so happy to do just what they want to do, not have to worry about driving home, so they can have a couple drinks. They can have that glass of wine and just get up the next day and have a much better attitude about taking their kid to soccer or something like that, which
Yeah,
is,
right. It's the least we can do, right? Just
yeah.
host that. And that's why I love, we've hosted a wide range of events, but we have hosted a handful of events that were purely social with no specific networking or, professional development workshop. One of those was a Galentine's Day party that we hosted last year at the Mansion on James. And despite the parking lot being an absolute ice skating rink and me
Oh,
being scared to death that someone was going to break their neck, it was an awesome night, and it was full of really amazing women-owned businesses and different services, and just like you said, different things going on, and just you know women coming out and getting dressed up and bringing a girlfriend, and it's just such a good vibe when you get the girls together. But last year we hosted the CNY Women's Market for the first time, which was the day after the summit. the summit that you emceed.
Right.
It was our first market, and that was the highlight of my weekend. And it's because the energy was so good. Like everyone was in such a good mood. And also, I mean, I got to see with my own two eyes the broader Central New York community coming out to shop and support women-owned businesses. And I think that that's why the vibes were high, is that there was this true sense of support in the community and just like togetherness that was felt at the market last year.
Well, even during your summit, I mean, the fact I just felt like everybody was out to support everybody else.
Yeah.
It was a great way to lift everybody up because you would talk to someone who was a business owner or they were talking to another business owner and they just wanted everybody to succeed and be the best that they could. To share all your secrets when it comes to owning a business, that tells you something if they're willing to do that in front of all the other women that are there because they just want to make it a better place. It's not so much being selfish that, they want to keep everything to themselves. They want everybody to prosper. And I really liked the atmosphere there. It was very cool.
Yeah, it was amazing. I'm going to have to talk to you when we're off air about this year's summit. I want to see if we can get you involved some way again. Yeah, and you're right. The summit is a different vibe than the market, but it's certainly super empowering and really energetic. And my favorite thing is my favorite part of the summit last year, I think, was our second year doing it. At the end of the day, we always leave a little extra time right before happy hour, and we use the main stage after the last panel gets done, and we give our guests the opportunity to come up on stage and just share one takeaway. And last year was, what's one bold move you made today? And there were so many women that got up on that stage and said, I was really skeptical about coming to something like this. I've never been to anything like this before, and I was really nervous. I was afraid to put myself out there. And, today I just decided to let go of all of that and just make the most of it and open myself up to people. And there's so many people that did things for the first time that they shared on stage. And it was just like,
Sure, that made you feel
I just got to sit
sure.
and listen to it, and I was like, "Wow, this is really
I mean,
cool."
something to be proud of because you developed that, right? It's
I mean,
a
it's
great
just
feeling.
I think when you're just in it and you're working on it, I mean, you produce the show, like you're creating the content, and then you're showing up and being the talent, right? It's just a lot there, a lot to plan and think about. But it's very rare that you get the opportunity to truly sit back and just like look at what you did and feel like, huh,
You
like
made a difference in
this is
those
why I
women's
do what I
lives.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really cool. So I'm excited for this year's summit. It's gonna be the fifth one. So we gotta go
Holy
big.
cow. Yeah.
Gotta go big, Amy. Gotta go big. And this is your 23, right?
This is my
This is your
23rd. Yes.
it's your Jordan year.
Yes.
It's a big year. It's gonna be amazing, Amy. Um, so for young women who want to break into media, what advice would you give them right now in 2026?
I would say you have to be enthusiastic about what you want to do and willing to pretty much start wherever. I meet a lot of people, I'm not saying women or guys that, they feel like they have a goal and that's what they have their heart set on. And I think that it's great to have a goal. It's just that there may be a couple of steps that you have to do before you reach that goal. A lot of times they are in Syracuse and maybe are not necessarily from Syracuse and they want to work in New York City. Their first job to be in New York. I mean, maybe that will happen, but sometimes you have to start a little bit lower than that. And sometimes you want an on-air shift, but you're not going to start off being on air. Maybe you got to do something in our promotions team or something like that. So I feel like you really have to be willing to maybe not have the job of your dreams right away. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of times these days, parents are very, very supportive about if this is what you want to do, then this is what's going to happen. And I think that's great, but I think they have to be realistic and put in the time. I mentioned, I think, I'm not even sure how long we've been talking, but I mentioned, a lot of the kids we meet that are maybe in the promotions department that have a part-time job, oh, they need to go away on the weekends and they need to do this and they need to do that. Well, you want to get into radio, you kind of got to be willing to work, in the
Yeah.
evenings and on the weekends and things. I see those that have been hired within the last couple of years, and that's what they do. And I see how far they have come since they were willing to put their time in and maybe not start at their dream job, but do whatever was needing to be done at the time, and how they have floated to the surface because they're so different from maybe some of the others that have come through the doors. So I think everything is possible, but I think that you kind of have to have your expectations realistic when you start.
Hmm.
And you know, communications has changed so much from when I went to school. You really have to be not only on the air but multitasking, as you know. It's not you're doing a podcast, you're doing social media, and you're, you know, moving and shaking. I mean, there's so many elements now involved in communications. So I think you have to just be willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, do whatever it takes. Hard work works. And you don't get to just pick and choose right off the bat. It's like, I mean, I think, yeah, people my age, my generation, having grown up on social media, it's easy to think that you can skip a bunch of steps and replicate your dream life because you see it, right? It's in the palm of your hand,
Right.
and you see people making it look really easy too. But they're not saying, "Hey, yeah, I'm here, but here's all the things I had to do to get here."
Right.
Even if someone's really good about sharing the whole journey, I mean, at this point in time, how you're perceiving this person that has what you want, you're not taking into account, oh, it's not an overnight thing.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But I think,
Well, you look at all the artists, I mean, musicians that all of a sudden their song is big on TikTok. For instance, Teddy Swims, right? Teddy
yeah,
Swims made it big 2 years ago. Teddy Swims has been performing for years. And, everybody's like, oh, he's an overnight success. It's like, no, he's not. I mean, he just has not been known. He had a journey too. He started off in, small bars and worked his way up. So that's a totally different vibe when it comes to being an artist. But I think, yeah, people see the finished product, or maybe when they first start getting really famous and they don't realize that there's so many years that you put in before that, with not just communications, but a lot of different careers.
so, if you could give one message to the Syracuse, Central New York community that's supported you for years, what would it be?
I am extremely grateful that the Syracuse community has supported me for this long. It kind of blows my mind that I've been doing this for this long, and our show is still doing very, very well. I don't know what the secret is. As I mentioned, I think that I try to be kind. I try to work hard. I try to be very genuine. And I try to reflect all that living in Central New York is a part of our show, I guess. So I'm not really sure why I've been able to do this, something that I love for so long, but I'm extremely grateful, and I'm extremely lucky that everybody has kept us in their families and in their homes for uh, 37 years. So you blink and you just can't believe that there's that many years that have gone by.
Yeah, that's a
So
special thing. How
yeah.
common is it for someone to have their own show for that long? Not very common, right?
I was just asked that. Somebody said, you must be the longest running morning show in Central New York. And I'm thinking, I mean, I
Are
don't
you?
know.
Like,
I
someone should look into that.
did
You need
radio
like a
exist before I
plaque.
went on? I'm really not sure.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
we should look into it.
Well,
And even nationwide to be on the same radio station. I don't really know. I
you
don't know
need
how
to
to do
have
that.
that looked into. There needs to
Yeah.
be like a plaque made for you,
Oh, a
but
plaque. Yeah.
or in your name on a park bench,
Maybe
something.
something like that.
Something like that,
But
especially year 40.
yeah.
So call me, I'll plan your party.
Okay. I'm not sure about that.
So
We
someone
had our
needs to plan
25th
you a party.
anniversary, and I felt like I was going to my, funeral. It was like, oh, remember Ted? I don't know. I'm not, from someone who talks about herself all the time, I'm like not really into being
Yeah.
in the spotlight like that. I kind of would like to just, you know, when I decide I no longer want to do this, I just want to kind of fade into the
And
background.
just like
Yeah.
disappear into the abyss.
Yeah.
Like no
Where
one
did
will
she go?
ever know where you people like won't notice at first, but then they'll be like, hey, wait a second, where's Amy?
We haven't heard from her in a long
That's
time.
so me.
Yeah.
Love a good Irish goodbye,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, sure. Yes, that's right. I should say I'm going to do an Irish goodbye when I decide I no longer want to do this.
Yeah.
Where the hell is she? I don't know.
Where'd she go?
I haven't seen her.
So what's next for Amy Robbins?
I'm not sure. I am still loving what I'm doing. And I always said to Ted, and both of us have said the same thing, that we're going to do this until we no longer enjoy doing it. That being said, the radio industry has been changing quite quickly regarding different radio clusters. I mean, we're not owned locally anymore. We're owned by a big corporation. And thankfully, our show still does very well and we still make the money. So they want us to continue. I just want to, when I don't want to do this anymore, I want to do it on my own terms. I don't want to be, truthfully, I'm joking about fading away. I don't want it to be that a decision is made for us.
Yeah.
I would rather make that decision myself.
Mhm.
I don't know when that's going to be, but I just want to make sure that we make that plan and are not told that we have to make that plan. Because I unfortunately feel like there's a lot of radio people in central New York where the plan has been made for them and they don't even really get a chance to say goodbye. They just
Yeah.
are all of a sudden not there anymore. And I don't want that to be
Yeah.
the case.
No. You need
But
to
that being said, we're still having fun. And thankfully, our show is still
still
doing
having
very well.
fun, still
So-
very much alive and well. You guys are thriving.
Yeah, we're still our show. It's amazing.
And we got the slumber party coming up, y'all. So
So-
don't miss it. What is the date?
It's
Location?
Saturday,
time?
February 28th at the DoubleTree. It is sold out, Alex. You do
Ah.
know somebody.
Okay,
So
I
you
do-
could get a tour.
I'm gonna slip in through the back door.
We'll give you a night shirt so you fit in. But
Yes.
yes, it's happening the end of February, which
nice.
is, we sold the rooms one of these many days where we've had a winter storm warning and it was snowing. And I think the ladies were like, screw it. I'm taking the night off. I'm going to go to the hotel. So it was a good thing that it was snowing
Yeah.
because everybody wanted to get away.
When do you guys usually sell out for the slumber party buy? Like when should people be looking out for next year's tickets?
Well, rooms go on sale usually Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. And to tell you the truth, we sold out in an hour. We sold out the rooms in an hour. I do give away rooms. So the next month or so, I'm going to be different places where women can stop by and register to win a room. So that's going to be
Yeah.
really the only way that you can get in this year. But it's pretty much always Martin Luther King Jr., like the Thursday and Friday before that. But yeah, we're dancing through the decades. I felt like it was back in 2007. We sold out really quickly this year. So
Oh,
I'm not
yeah?
quite sure what the secret was. But
Oh, I
it's
was
gonna-
gonna say we're gonna have to do a part 2 to just kind of break down the marketing strategy behind this event. I mean, it's just like incredible. It's iconic, like I said.
iconic. That's it.
Well, Amy, this was iconic. Thank you so much
thank
for your time
you.
today. I've
Oh.
had so much fun getting to know you more and just hearing about your journey and asking you all of the deep questions that I had for you today. So thank you.
Well, I'm proud of you. My goodness. I was thinking about not that you're in radio, but you are in communications. And there are very few and far between women that are in the broadcast industry. Not so much television, but podcasting and radio is different. And I am so proud of how far you've come and, how many waves you've made while you've been here. You seem to really be a mover and a shaker, and you're young and you're doing great. So I'm very proud of all that you've accomplished. And I was thinking, it's interesting because I said this to somebody the other day. Back in the day when radio first started, it was all talk radio, right? They didn't have television then, they just had radio and it was all talk. And so people would tune in and listen to a show that they liked and just people talking, right? And so I feel like podcasting is kind of going back to the old school radio because then music came. And so then people were not
Yeah.
listening to talk radio. They were listening to music and all their favorites. Now radio has come by the way of that there's a lot of other sources for music. So you like to hear talk. And
Yeah.
podcasting is yet another step in that direction. So you're kind of an old school radio gal.
Old
In a-
school radio gal. I love the idea of being old school. So I'll take that, Amy. And also I think that thank you so much for your compliments. I know there's still a lot for me to learn and other ways I'd like to improve and grow this show. So I'm gonna have to probably ask you to coffee sometime soon and
Well,
get
I'm the
your
source.
insight on a few things.
I'm the
But
OG of the
you
radio
are
world, babes. You
I
got
need
it.
it. I need it. I need it, Amy. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. This
Happy
was a lot of
2026.
fun.
I can't wait
Thank
to see
you.
all the amazing things you do. And I'm looking forward to the slumber party.
Well, nice to see you. Thanks, Alex.
All right, guys, that's it for this week's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to Cultivate CNY. If you enjoyed this conversation, I'd love it if you left us a quick review and made sure you're subscribed so you never miss an episode. And if something in today's discussion resonated with you, please share it. Whether it's on social media or directly with a friend, you never know how hearing this conversation might be exactly what someone needs right now. And I love to hear your feedback. I love to hear your thoughts. So please be sure to tag us on social media if you do share there. This podcast is produced by Diam Media Group, a video production company based in Syracuse, New York. If you'd like to work with Diam Media for your next big campaign or maybe a podcast you'd like to get off the ground, head to diammedia.com to learn more. Until next time, I'm Alex Canavan, and I'll see you next Monday.